First and foremost, this has come about because the two tackles I've seen in the England game, Harry Maguire and Dyer and Ramos, what a tackle it was. He won the ball. It was a fair, clean tackle. And if I think people are getting booked for that, for me, the game's gone.
Right, well, first of all, the game's not gone. The game's evolved. It's moved on a pace now. And tackling is still in the game. So if you're good at tackling, if you're a good defender and you tackle well, it's not a problem. It's when you overstep the mark. Now, law covers it. Law 12 covers it. And if you're careless in tackling, that means you just trip a player or something of that nature, it's a free kick. If you're reckless when tackling, it's a free kick, but you're reckless in terms of, you know, your consequences of your challenge, the player could get injured or that of nature, you may receive a yellow card. If it's endangering the safety of a player, which means it's with force, and it endangers that opponent, it's a red card. So tackling hasn't gone out the game at all.
But, Peter, you can't win a strong tackle without directly having contact with the opponent.
No, I don't disagree with that. What I'd say is that you can make a strong challenge and the opponent's momentum brings him over you, which isn't a foul, because you've won the ball cleanly, you've got that space, and the opponent has gone into you. It's when you go through that opponent to win the ball, that's when it becomes a foul.
What was Eric Dyer's tackle? Where does that sit in the remit of those?
Well,
balls?
Dyer's tackle was one that my dad would say would be a great challenge. But again, as you just said, the game has evolved. Let's just go back a pace now. There's been a lot of players over the past, few years who have had to retire because of injury. FIFA recognised that. I think it started off with Marco van Basten in the early 90s. He got challenges all the time from the back, and FIFA said, hey, hang on a minute, we can't have that. We've got to protect our players. The referee's responsibility is to protect the player. So go back to your question. Dyer, in terms of the challenge, yes, it was a robust challenge, but in winning the ball, he causes a reckless challenge on his opponent. He has no consequences of his challenge. It causes an injury to his opponent. See, no,
he didn't. He wasn't injured. He played for us.
But Gareth Southgate...
Just because you've got an injury doesn't mean to say you've got to come off the game. It means that you've exposed yourself, and the player who's made the challenge hasn't had regard for your consequences of his challenge.
Yeah, but you say about winning the ball, but winning the ball isn't in the rules, is it? There's nothing about winning the ball in the rules.
You're quite right, Steve. Absolutely right.
So you don't, hang on, let me just get some history. You think that's a yellow card challenge into modern football?
I do, yeah.
I think that's
But Gareth
absolute
Southgate and
nonsense. Can't believe
Pochettino, Dyer's international and club manager, have both said that set the tone for that England great start, flying into a 3-goal lead. That sets the tone. That gives everybody else a lift. He's gone and won the ball. He's won the tackle strongly.
Low. It's not high, it's low.
He's gone through sort of Ramos, if you like, who's he's Marmite, isn't he? People either love him or they loathe him. So for me, it's like, well, it's a great tackle.
Right. Yeah.
Pete, these are not your laws, by the way. Obviously, you're a referee that adheres to the laws. Now, do you feel that the officials then, because all these years, everyone thinks, oh, well, the game's changed, players don't tackle anymore, the players are soft, they're ruining the game, when the reality is it's the officials that are essentially ruining the game?
No, it's not.
To an extent.
No.
You'll say protecting it, but we will say as footballers, ruining it.
Okay, look, the officials don't ruin the game, OK?
They do it because they set the laws, which you have to adhere to.
FIFA set the laws, IFAB set the laws, we adhere to that.
Correct,
You're quite correct. So we go out there as the arbiter of the game.
Yeah.
Prime concern is the safety and welfare of players.
It's sport.
Would you believe?
It's sport. They're going to be contact in every sport.
Absolute,
American football, rugby, whatever it is, this boxing, it's contact sports.
Don't disagree with you. But the players' safety and welfare is paramount in the referee's mind. FIFA have set the laws, the referees interpret those laws. And part of that interpretation is to make sure that we protect the likes of you guys from challenges that's going to cause you injury. And that's the way the modern game's played.
We asked one of the best defenders there's been in the Premier League, Rio Ferdinand, for his thoughts on tackling. Firstly, whether he thinks tackling is disappearing out of the game.
I don't think tacklings are dying out in the modern game. I think it's the force with which you tackle is becoming the issue. When it's seen with people going in with maximum force to make a tackle, whether they get the ball or not nowadays, that's becoming a talking point. But I think if you go in and you nick the ball cleanly, I think that's always going to be exempt from getting a booking or a red card. I think if you do it the right way, it's just that the force in which you go in now is that they're trying to protect the player with the ball more than ever.
Rio says that the force you go in to protect the player, the trailing leg one. As players now, surely physics will suggest that your trailing leg will go through with momentum. The Harry Maguire tackle, for instance, he won the ball cleanly, low, studs not showing, his trailing leg catches the play, therefore it's a yellow card.
Yeah, but
where's the trailing leg supposed to go?
It's very difficult. I totally agree with you 100%. If you're going to slide tackle and win the ball, naturally your trailing leg is going to come through. You don't necessarily mean to clean the guy out, but naturally it's going to come through.
Hang on.
I think there's recipe for disaster if it gets to a point now where players are going to go in for a tackle and they've got to worry about where their trailing leg ends up or goes.
No.
There could be knees, ankles, all sorts.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that either. I think what happens now is that the players need to be responsible, as they have done in the past, but more so responsible in terms of the consequences of their actions. I mean, I refereed a game a few years ago when Aaron Ramsey broke his leg, the Stoke and Arsenal game, and Ryan Shawcross. Now, he went in for a challenge, and that challenge for me was a reckless challenge, you know. However, the consequences of that challenge meant that poor old Aaron had lying there with a broken leg, and that raised the notch because that clearly was endangering the safety of his opponent and clearly had to be sent off from that one. So that's the sort of challenge we're looking at.
But you're not going to stop that. That's not stopped, has it?
Well,
it happened to Luke Shaw, like, very recently. That's not stopped because that's in a player's mind that they're going above the ball. So, therefore, that's the issue with the player, not with the laws of the game. It's a shocking tackle.
Yeah.
So you can't just go, oh, well, it's a shocking tackle, so, therefore, we have to then heighten the laws even more.
Well, actually, that's part of it. You do have to heighten. You have to look at the directives that the referees are under. Those directives have changed since the mid-90s. We are much more stronger now in terms of penalising challenges that, yes, the years have, you'd have got away with. You know, because that's part of the involvement of the game. And that's the way it's going. Whether or not you like it or not is something that we need to address to the lawmakers. At the moment, the referees are under the directive to make sure they protect players.
John, what do fans want to see then? Do
Fans want to see
those
strong tackles. They don't want to see people going over the ball. They don't want to see people elbowing off the ball. But what, basically, Peter, in a nutshell, listening to you there and the rules from the governing bodies, the refereeing commission, you're almost trying to make it a non-contact sport. Because there's contact when you tackle.
Yeah. There is contact, but it's the style of contact that's made. It's how that contact is made. I mean, Rio mentioned the word force.
But there's got to be contact when you tackle.
There will be contact. Absolutely right, there will be contact. But that contact could be momentum. That contact could be just a nick. It's the way it's interpreted by the referee. It's very subjective, of course. However, its prime aim is for the safety of the players.